What?
Speaking of tips, don't we have a new segment?
We do have a new segment.
We have a new segment.
And it has nothing to do with Mike's robe. It has everything to do with the
Old
tip
school.
of the old school tip of the day.
Wow,
Old
I like
school
that.
tip of the day.
I like the intro, bro.
Yeah,
This is going to be a new segment.
This is a new segment we're going to do with our guests who have this knowledge rummaging around in their head, bro. A tip of the day. It could be the smallest thing to the biggest thing. Mike, you're on. And
my tip of the day.
Nothing to do with thongs. Go.
No. My tip of the day would be, I guess I learned the best tips in the truck because you have more than. I'll give you 2 tips. Let me do 2 tips if you don't want.
No, on the first day, you're going to give us 2?
Okay,
Go with it.
I'll do it this way. If you're in the engine, do never let yourself be caught between the wall and the line. Never. That's a no-no. Always be on the outside.
I like it.
I like
okay,
that.
Because whether the water pressure changes or the angle of the attack changes and the hose goes around a corner, you don't want to be pinned against the wall. Now you're vulnerable. Number 2, I suggest, I don't care what anybody tells you, I'd bring a can when I was working and a hook. Every job, no matter what the fuck it was.
No matter what. Elevator, absolutely.
Elevator, and I'll tell you why. It solves a lot of problems. It's a chock. It's an extinguisher. It gives guys some time to go in there, make a quick search. You can hose the top of the hot air, keep it a little cool. Guy can get out, and use it as a way to get out of a building, break a window. It serves a lot of multi-purposes, and I think it's a lost art. No one really teaches it because I think a lot of people really don't know how to use a can properly.
I like it.
I like it, kid. Mike, you are the first tip of the day, old school tip of the day. You should be proud, bro. And those are 2 great tips. Right?
Hey, Mike, I want to say, if you next time you come on, if we do have you on with the part 2,
we're gonna have him on today.
Yeah, you gotta have. If you wear the robe, you gotta have a gold chain or something. Like with the Jewish cross or something.
Jewish cross. It's the Star of David. Get it right.
The better
half.
What time?
It's time for the old school tip of the day.
Old school tip of the day is, my thing is, listen at a fire. Listen to the radio. There's always some things like, I know I was searching and I hear the engine officer call for water, and I just waited to hear those magic words from the MPO, water's on its way. To me, that made a whole difference in the world. You're on the floor above, you're crawling around, trying to make a search. All of a sudden, you hear that water underneath you. You know things are getting better. The line's moving in on the floor below. I used to use all my senses at a fire. That's why I said I didn't use a hood. But listening, you're on the top floor making a search. All of a sudden, you hear the saws above you.
Nice.
That's so you can learn a lot just by not actually talking, but just listening what's going on. Some good things, or you just know things. Like I said, I heard this guy give maydays. I heard a panic down below me. I know things weren't right. So it's good to keep your ears out of what's going on. If you really get a good sense of what's going on, you don't have to be on the radio all the time. Really keep your ears out. That helped me a lot through. I figured through my career.
That's a great
to keep
tip.
me out of trouble.
Excellent tip, Pete. I think we need a second horn on that one. That was such a good tip, bro. Give it to us.
You can really hear. You can hear the difference in guys' voices, right? As things are amping up or going down, so you can really sense what's happening.
Are you ready, Bob?
4.
Hit it, Pete.
Are you ready, Bob?
Bob.
For the old school tip of the day.
So when I first went to 176, I mean, I knew nothing about truck work, knew nothing about going to the roof. Fortunately, we had a lot of vacants, and we were able to drill. And the senior guys, who, even though they were the warrior guys, they did not mind going out with us. And because at that time, all of the trucks in that area were lucky if they had 12, 13, 14 guys. So now you had this influx of all these new young guys. We didn't know shit. So I remember Tony Asaro and Al Bailey. If you put both of them together, they were 6 foot tall. You know, 176 used to be engine 233, section 2. On Friday, they were an engine. On Monday, they were a truck.
Holy shit.
So, and they, this is 1971, 1972, and now they're doing, thousands of flyers a year. So we went out and they put the aerial up. And when we got to the top of the aerial, right at the, by the cornice, the one thing he said was, the time to look for your way off the roof is not when the shit's hitting the fan. Plan your exit when you get there. Never separate yourself. Never let the fire be between you and your exit. Like you saw the video of these guys out in California. God forbid that they had to start looking for their way off when that happened, because there would have been 10 dead guys instead of nobody dying.
Right.
So always plan your exit before you make your entrance, and never block your exit. Never let the fire get between you and whether it's the aerial or the exposure or the step back or whatever. Know where you're going before you take another 2 steps.
There's no doubt.
The roof 99 times out of 100 is a bunt. Oh man, I got the fucking roof tonight. But that one time,
you earn your money for the whole year.
Your sphincter. We used to. How was that job? How was that job last night?
When you have a real roof job,
right?
You earn your money for the guys. Tell me that you earn your money for the whole year when you're walking around with just a hook. Trying to see where you're at, and you can't see shit, and people depending on you to make, to vent.
See, way back when, there was only 2 of you on the roof.
Right, exactly.
You and the other truckie who had the roof. There wasn't 10 guys up there like they said today.
He's one step behind.
I now know the time that you are talking about, which is, of course, our old school tip of the day.
And listen, it doesn't get much older than this guy right here, bro.
There's older guys than me still around.
Chief Steve, bro. Chief Steve's got 40. How many years did you put in, Dennis? 38?
37. A little over 37.
37 years. Chief Steve's working on 42, I think, bro. So,
really?
Yep. I keep telling him, what are you doing? What?
Well, again, it's a little bit different jumping on off the rig in the rescue or the truck. I'm not saying it's, but when you're the chief, it's a little bit easier. I'm just saying.
How long has he been a chief?
Oh, geez. He's deputy since 2001, right after 9/11. He was the first class.
Hey, he's a good student, your brother.
He was a very good student. Yep.
I took the captain's test 4 times.
I studied for like 2 weeks, right? What were you studying for, like 2 weeks at a time?
Like 10 minutes. I was really motivated. But the leaves where.
Some of us learned about the wedge in the helmet today. What else are we going to learn?
Give us your tip.
Oh man, let's see. I was thinking of a few things. One of my favorites was take time to save time.
Take time
to save time. And that starts like, get dressed properly. If it takes an extra second to get the right tool off the rig, let's say, go get it, because it's going to take a lot longer to go back from the building and go back to the scene. Your size up, right? You know what? You got a high-rise project or something. You got fire on the 12th floor. You know what? if you're so close to the building that you don't have time to count the floors, you know, like your truck stops right in front, stop. Because you better know, because you can't go by, you know, the report that the dispatcher says fire. Louis, how many times?
Yeah, it's on the wrong floor.
Floor. It's on the 14th floor. It's on the 8th floor. You know, the smoke's everywhere. So, you know, it's like the size up, access to a building. You know, take the time to make sure you're running into the right building. I mean, you got like a row of frames. You got smoke pushing out of, you know, 4 cornices. Right? It's in the like, which is the fire building? Where did it start? Like, you might have to stop and really look, you know. So
you never want to stop, right?
You're always not when everyone's up your ass, right?
That's it. I mean, if you really think about it, you never want to stop, because probably that is always the underlying factor, is that you feel like somebody's going to get there before you. I think
and that's one of the negatives about our department, because we have so much manpower.
I agree.
So many other departments don't even have a fraction of that, you know, but you got to make it happen. You know, I mean, that's what's great about the truck. When you get new guys, you can break them in the way, you know, they should be, you know, broken in. I mean, I'd make them stop and say, what floor's the fire on? You know, count the floors. Did you know, you know, I go, was there a fire escape in the front? You know, like,
yeah.
Like, take the time. You know, another big thing I had, like a real pet peeve of mine, is crawling in the fire. Right? Guys, how many times everybody's walking into fire? Standing up in zero visibility all the time. I mean, you watch all these videos, right, from all over the country and even New York City. It's like you get to that door, you know, I learned this from the old school guys because they didn't wear the mask, right? So they had to be low.
Right.
They had to be low, number one, so they could breathe, because, you know, the layers, the smoke layers, it's much less dense at the floor level. I mean, these guys, I remember they went in like a snake. They were flat on their belly, you know, like going in like this, dragging their tools, dragging the hose. It was unbelievable. And, you know, we learned it because of the vacant buildings too, with all the holes in the floors. And you know, so you could feel what you're doing. And how are you doing a search if you're not crawling, you know? Right. So plus, you know, but the thing is, just remember to monitor the heat overhead when you're down there. You know, I didn't really put my hood on until, you know, like in the beginning, I didn't wear the hood in the early part of a job, unless I really needed to, but I'd like to feel what was going on with my ears.
That's funny you say that, because I never wore my hood either.
You know, I felt like guys get too encapsulated. So I would, and if I had the hood on, I would pull it back around my ear occasionally, and I'd stand up real quick just to get a feeling. Or I'd put my hand, you know, I'd pull my glove up, put my hand over my head. I mean, you got to monitor the conditions overhead, you know, because the heat could be, I mean, I'm not a big numbers guy with that, but it could be a couple of 100 degrees difference, right? I'm sure.
Yeah, no doubt about
you know, and you don't even, you know, if the bunker gear, like, you're so encapsulated. I mean, it's easy to get caught. I mean, I've been in
false sense of security.
Yeah, I've been in a couple of flashovers. I mean, I went through a window, you know, in 120. We were over on Hopkinson, just north of Atlantic, and we had one of those little mini brownstones, and they torched gasoline on the front door and right onto the parlor floor. Get up to the stoop, and couldn't even force it. We had to hit the door with water just so we could cool it down. And the line is coming, and so I get in and I go to the left, to the hallway, down to the back on the parlor, and the line's coming in going the other way. Anyway, water's operating, right? Right. This is what Captain was talking about, right? Water operating. Still a flashover. And I'm telling you, this is a flashover. I'm in a back bedroom on the parlor floor, and I'm doing a search. And I remember I'm on the floor and I'm sticking my hand under the bed, and all of a sudden it just becomes unbearable heat.
No shit.
I'm telling you, unsurvivable heat. And all I did, I knew there was a window behind me, and, you know, I didn't really think about, you know, looking for my secondary egress, because if I went into a hairy situation, sort of one of the first things, you know, we did was, how are we getting out of here, looking for a secondary means of egress. But this day, for whatever, I had a line operating. I had good water. I just was focusing on my search. I trusted the engine, you know. And I mean, talk about luck. I have a window behind me, single pane glass.
Thank God.
Right? Old school. No bars, with a setback roof.
Oh my God. It was like
12 inches under the window. I just rolled through the glass.
That's Disney World.
I just rolled through the fucking glass. I mean,
you couldn't even make that up.
Forget it. PSS. If I had a PSS and I needed it,
it wasn't happening.
The reality of it is, I'm sorry.
Oh, stand by, ladies and gentlemen, because
Keith,
the time of the
listen
day
up.
is
Keith,
for the old school tip of the day.
All right, Keith, what do you got for us?
Okay. All right, here's my old school tip of the day. It's actually 3 quick ones.
Go.
Number one, I always used to come in and look at the crew that was working at both the engine and the truck. And of course, they were all good guys. And I knew that I can extend myself because 59 had the line and the guys in the truck were always going to be in position. And number two, when you go to the roof with a saw, bring a flathead axe with you that's sharpened, because if anything happens to that saw, you don't want anybody to complete your hole. You want to cut that hole with the roof and open it. And number 3 is, in the truck, complete destruction in every position is the key.
Wow, dude, that might be the best one ever.
Big tool, big power.
Love that.
Right.
Oh shit, I love
That
it.
might have been the best one ever, bro. I think we might have to make a shirt like that. Complete destruction in every room.
I fucking love it, man. That's great.
I like the shirt. Do that.
Right. If you make a shirt like that, I better get the royalties.
You got it. You got it, man. You got it.